everyone, please take your seats. Make sure you have your products, your makeup, your styling tools, brushes, curlers, sponges, etc. And of course, make sure you have your faces. Welcome to Pierre's Beauty School. I am Pierre number 6, not number 5, not number 2. Number 3 is sick, number 4 was fired. That's explained elsewhere. Pierre number 1 gives more intimate one-on-one sessions with the faces. However, one must prove themselves in a generalized class first. Today, we're going to be taking all of your faces, as well as Christine, let's call her Christine, and we're going to be transforming the face. Because this is Pierre's amateur makeup hour. So make sure we all have our faces. Our faces are the most important part. And we are going to start out with a foundation. A foundation will lay the groundwork for our look. Now there are multiple methods to how you can lay down foundation. Everything from a sponge, and make sure these are wet and wrung out before you use them. You can use a brush to buff the makeup in. Or if you're old school, use your fingers. I'm going to be using a mixture of the latter. Pick out your foundation. For my face, this might not be quite a match, but we're going to work with it regardless. Christine, I have a feeling you and I are going to get to know each other very well. So, I am just going to be taking a little bit. Christine does not look like a person who needs much foundation. And we're just going to start rubbing and or buffing that in. So as you can see, and let me show you exactly why I use a mixture. It looks uneven. That's okay. I take my buffing brush and I just lightly buff everything out. And for the sake of this class, it helps that you can see the difference in the color of the skin and foundation. That way you might witness the difference in blended and unblended foundation. Quite lovely, yes? So let's finish Christina's base. I think Christina needs a backstory. I think she hails from New Jersey. I think she is a strong, independent woman. And I think any person can be strong and independent. And of course, if you do not have eye primer, you can just rub some foundation or concealer on your eyes. And that will do the job. We're just wanting our color to stick when we go about doing our eyes. So, you're of course going to want to blend, making sure everything is blended seamlessly. You don't want to leave any room for someone to see a line. That is why we bring the foundation into the ears. And I'm taking just light circular movements. And again, bringing this all over the face to create an even complexion. And don't forget the neck. Even if you're just bringing a little bit down, it helps with the color so that no one sees that line. So, once your foundation is nice and blended, you want to add some concealer. Now there are many options you can use for concealer. Here at the Pierre Makeup School, we recommend something just a tad bit lighter, with medium to full coverage, depending on what you need. Those of us who get less sleep might need more fuller coverage concealer. Now, in the olden days, where I hail from, Y2K, you might use this and make a giant triangle. Nowadays, we more focus on just spotting like that, so that we can marry the points. And of course, if you still want to do just a little bit, I am prone to those two places when I do others' looks. And with a finger, I'm going to just buff that out. And it looks crazy now, but it will blend in. And you're going to want to be looking up when you're doing this. Now I will use a buffer brush, and I will just buff this out. As you can see, we look gorgeous. Christine looks gorgeous. She looks quite lovely, doesn't she? Very well done. And you can see the different color from the bottom of the neck to the face. Everything looks good. Now, normally, this is the point where we would powder. However, those of you who would like to use or experiment with cream blushes, Pierre No. 1 does insist on experimentation to just have fun with it. If a look doesn't go your way, maybe it will next time. And you've learned a lesson. So, when you want to use a cream blush, like this one, you're going to want to make sure it's warm. I like to warm it up with the back of my hand. And once it's warm, it's creamier, it's malleable. I like to take a little bit on my middle finger, and I like to just begin working it in. Just patting it in. And you see, we're doing this with the foundation unpowdered. And that is because the cream of the foundation and the cream of the blush will meld together and work better. If you put a cream on top of a powder, warm it up, you will drag the makeup off. Yes. So, again, just pick up some of that, and we're just going to pat that. And I'm doing the apples of the cheek and pulling it back just a hair. Now, that looks gorgeous, doesn't it? We're really working it in there. I like to take just a little bit, just a teeniest little bit on the tip of the nose. And this gives that sort of rosy, awake look. And of course, you can never blend too much. So, now I'm just going to, once we have that good and ready, and we'll add some powder later if we feel like we need some more. That's perfectly fine. Some cream, powder blush, that is. And that's perfectly fine. Now, for now, that is as far as we're going to go in terms of creams in this lesson up here, school. We've used foundation, we've used concealer, we used a cream blush, a cream product. Doesn't Christine look beautiful already? So now, it is time for one of my favorite parts, powder. I hope you all read Pierre's notes that the best powder when you're on a budget in amateur makeup is the Coty Airspun. This can be picked up at most retailers. Walmart is an especially favored one, and I believe it retails for around $12. And this will last you, a couple of years, unless you're using it heavily. And all you're going to do to get it out is just tap it. And your lid will be full. You'll always want to open this lid down. Now what we're going to do is, first and foremost, we're going to take a fluffy powder brush, and we want this to be coated, because we are going to powder Christine's face down. Looks quite a mess, doesn't it? Powder is flying. And this just ensures that Christina's face does not move. The blush is still there, her foundation and concealer is still there, and now this won't move or sweat off. So, with powder now done, we're going to want to move on to the eyes. We're going to keep it simple today. We have quite a lovely little palette here. Whatever palette you have is fine. We're going to be teaching techniques this lesson. As you can see, we have a lot of bright colors. So first and foremost, I'm going to pick up a simple, we're going to do very simple. I'm going to pick up a nice taupey pink, this color right here. I'm going to really pack that on my brush, and I'm going to tap off the excess. Now, here's a trick. Any powder can be made pigmented by simply pressing the powder in so that it sticks to one part. Like so. And then you can start blending. And you notice I'm using Christine's brow bone as a guide. And you'll see that I'm doing windshield wiper movements. when you have the harsh edges, you can still see a little bit of harsh edge. Clean brush. I find what's really helpful is circular, little tiny circular motions. You can see how much more blended that looks, how much more seamless. Of course, because it's so beautiful. Now let's do the other eye. And I'm going to show you when I do this how easy it can be. Look at that. Blending it effortlessly. Just like that. And again, circular motions after windshield wipers. And of course, your face is may need to be blended a little bit more. Christine is made of Class A silicone. She blends easier. And just like that. How gorgeous. Now, what we're going to do next, I want a little bit of a deeper crease. So what I'm going to do is take a brush that I have here. And because Christine has a little bit of hooded eyes, I'm taking a darker pink. And I'm just going to deepen that color. Just right into the crease. Just like that. Deepen the color nice. Who doesn't love a nice pink? Just like that. Isn't that quite beautiful? And of course, you can use any color that you wish. There are no rules. Pierre encourages experimentation. It's quite gorgeous. So, now we can focus on a lid. Now, most of the time we would do a simple basic look. We're going to show you some glitter. Because, why not? Now, when I use glitter, depending on the situation, I typically will just use a finger. And how that works, so I'll make sure it's a little bit damp from a wet cloth. And I'll just pick up the color. Like so. And I will just pat a little bit of that glitter on the lid. Just pat it in there. And because I'm the kind of person who likes the symmetry, I take a little bit of a blending brush and blend it in, like so. It's quite beautiful. And though as beautiful as it is, it's not done without a little bit of liner. And this is a simple liner. Now we're going to do this following the lash line. We're going to put just a little line. Now, of course, Christine's eyes are closed, and while that's often a very good referencing point, if you're doing wing, sometimes it can be better to keep your eyes open. As so. And yes, sometimes there's a little spill with the makeup. And you know what? That is a part of the process. You move on. You move on. Just fix it up like so, like it never happened. Wonderful. Now, I told you before, we might put a little bit more blush on her. And I meant that. So picking up the powder blush, we're going to just feather dust that. Nothing too harsh. We don't want to look crazy. Just something to give a little color. Because of course, who doesn't love a little color in their face? Like so. Now, when that is done, we could sit here all day and I could walk you through different methods of contour and different methods of how to shape the face. That's for another day and for another lesson. As is mascara. Right now, we're going to simply focus on lips. Lips are important. Now, you can use a regular bullet lipstick, a nice simple color, or if you feel good for it, you can use that same color and you can use a brush with it. And what I mean by that is you take a simple lip brush like so. And I'm going to show you on Christine here. You're going to just apply the color. And this gives you a different kind of control over the shade and the shape. So I'm going to look directly at Christine as I do this. And that way I have more control. But what I'm doing is simply picking up some of the lipstick and applying it to the mouth. And when you use a tiny brush like this one, you get more control over the shape and shade, like I've already said. But that really is because of the brush. So you can see it's already coming along. I think she could use a little bit more color in the bottom hemisphere. And of course, we're going to bring it up to the top. No lipstick looks complete when your top lip isn't done. just like that. I'll show you more intimately here. Christine has lipstick. Now, this is going to be all of Christine's face that we show, but doesn't she look quite beautiful? And you can too, following these steps, or any steps you read about or follow tutorials online. There are different methods to applying your makeup, but here at the Pierre Studio, we hope you've learned something. Until next time, remember that you are beautiful and you are loved. Have a wonderful evening.